So we aren't just in Two Rivers today. We are also in Silver City, New Mexico. And we're going to get a tour of Power and Light Press. We're going to talk about shop happenings and the Southwest Print Fiesta, which sounds really warm. It's gray and cold in Two Rivers today, so I can't wait to hear about it. Power and Light Press is a ship-shape print shop built to handle all of life's messy emotions. Started in 2009, Power and Light Press has been making witty and smart work with letterpress that's always stunning and always makes me giggle, if I'm going to admit. I own work from Power and Light Press, bags and prints and cards. It's the place to kind of get everything for all of life's moments. And we were very lucky here at Hamilton because I think it was the first month that I worked here. It might have even been the first week I worked here. Back in 2011, Kyle Durrie came through with the Movable Type van, which actually Hamilton was the one that sponsored the sign press that went into the type truck. So we have long ties to Kyle and her work. So I want to say thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing, and I'm going to hand it over. So thanks, Kyle.
Hello. Stephanie, thank you so much for having me here. I'm sorry that Jim and Bill aren't here, but you know, we'll catch up with them at some point.
Exactly.
It's so nice to see so many of these familiar faces. There's a lot of you I don't know also, so it's nice to kind of meet you in a way here. I've only been able to go to the Waste Goose once at Hamilton, but I have so much fondness and sweetness for the community that Hamilton has built and maintained over the years. And I know that these hangs have been a really important thing for a lot of us this year to stay connected and motivated and inspired, and just see our nerdy printer friends. It's always just a fun way to catch up with folks. So my name is Kyle Durrie. I'm the owner of Power and Light Press, and as Stephanie said, I'm in Silver City, New Mexico. That is in the southwest part of the state, so it's kind of halfway roughly between Tucson and El Paso, tucked up into the mountains in a pretty rural, remote area. It's absolutely beautiful here. We're at 6,000 feet, so we're, you know, beautiful high desert climate. We're getting a weird spring, but that's what we expect this year, I guess. But I moved here, well, I started the business in Portland, Oregon in 2009 and worked there for about 4 years before I moved down here. I moved here at the end of 2012. And in those first few years in Portland, like I started the business and kind of started to figure out what I was trying to do as a printer. And in that time, I embarked on the Movable Type truck tour. And I know I met a lot of you folks on that inaugural journey. I could talk about that for days, so I probably won't talk about it too much today, but anyone who has questions about, you know, a mobile print shop, I'm always happy to talk about it. So feel free to email me or put questions in the chat. But that trip really helped me kind of solidify what I wanted to do as a printer. And it kind of helped me articulate my vision and my voice, like my point of view, what I wanted to say in my work, and what I wanted it to do as a means of communicating and connecting people. And I feel like print is such a powerful tool for communication. And there was something about being on that journey. I traveled around the country for a year on the first trip. I learned so much. I met so many incredible people, and all of that really informed the work that I've done since then. So when I came back from that trip, I relocated down to Silver City. So Portland was a really great place for me to start my business. I love it there. You know, it's a very formative time and place for me and my work. But the city was starting to change a lot, and I was feeling like I couldn't really afford to grow. I couldn't really afford my own space, and I didn't feel like it was a long-term place that I wanted to stay. So I have family roots in New Mexico, and my partner and I decided to move down here. This town in particular is small, beautiful, but like has what you need. You know, I've got a regular mailman and a UPS guy and grocery store and cheap rent, beautiful weather. So those were really all the factors that kind of played into moving from a city to a remote place. But I've been so happy here, and it's really allowed me to expand the business and clear my head and just kind of focus on making work. And I'm gonna do like a little device switch so I can walk around the shop. I wanna just take you on a tour of the shop, talk about some of the systems that I have in place in the business. Oh, maybe before I do that though, so Power and Light is it's a commercial production print shop. We have a product line, it's mostly greeting cards. And those we design, print, package, and ship from this building to stores all over the country. So we also sell directly to customers on our website, and we have a retail store here as well. But primarily like 90% of the business is wholesale, or it was pre-COVID. A lot has changed this year. I'm also saying we a lot because we were a team of 7 and now we are a team of 1. So a lot has changed this year, but I've just been kind of trying to put one foot in front of the other and figure it out. Excuse me. So yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys around. Bear with me while I like switch from this one to the other.
It's okay, we'll do a little switch. Yeah, it'll be good. We're gonna get a little tour, which will be nice. Okay, you are on the action cam.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this screen around and there we go. There's where I was sitting with my iPad propped up against a can of fast drying polyurethane. So this shop is downtown Silver City. It's a small town, about 10,000 people. And I'll take a better shot up closer, but that's like our main entrance, which kind of faces the main drag right downtown. So we're in a really great location, really connected and open to the public. We'll end up over there in this shop. But first I'm going to take you around a little tour. Here's my little office zone. This area is where I pack orders, package products, and just kind of do general day-to-day work stuff. I apologize. I'm going to try to walk really slowly, but so I apologize if it's going to make anyone seasick. This is the stock room. So these are boxes of greeting cards. The way we do it here is I typically have one box up top that has cards packaged and ready to go. So with an envelope and a sleeve, so they're, you know, ready to pull for orders. And then the box below are flat, scored, unpackaged cards. So kind of like a little overstock. So, you know, we're typically printing between 200 to 1,000 of each style, depending on popularity. And that has changed a lot this year too. You know, with so many stores being closed, there's just typically less demand. So I've been adjusting quantities and starting to print less of everything. This wall, there's some holiday cards up top, but then these are other gift items that we make, non-card things. So we've got coasters, notepads, patches, air fresheners, little gift items that we design. Some of them we make here, others we just design and outsource, but all the greeting cards we print here. So this back corner of the shop, here's our little kitchen. This is like, we used to eat lunch here and now it's where I keep plants. Just like hardware, tool storage. Here's a wonderful wall. I'm sure some of you who are here today are represented on this wall of posters. This is my fan wall. And we used to have shows here at the shop. We have a lot of musician friends that go on tour in normal times and come through town. And so when we have shows, we just move all the couches out of the way and set this up as our little stage with a wall of letterpress posters as a backdrop. I miss that so much, and I cannot wait until we can start doing that again. It was just such a important part of my community here, just bringing music and like art experiences to my friends here was a really important part of what I wanted to do with this whole space. As you'll see, the space is huge. It's more space than we even needed when we were operating at full steam, but it was a space that we could have events. You know, in addition to shows, we would do workshops. We had some like holiday markets and just really tried to make this a community space when we could. So someday we'll get back to that. Here's the challenge proof press. Use this for doing posters, and my little collection of type is just those 2 cases there. I don't work with type that often. I mostly do polymer for the production line, but I do love working with type. And so when I have the chance to do posters, I just kind of hang out over in this zone. Back under here, there's this loft upstairs that is unused. It's there's some storage up there, but it's just kind of this weird little bonus space. Just don't need, I don't have enough stuff to fill it. So it kind of hangs out up there. Here's my paper cutter, scrap paper zone, flat files. These filing cabinets, I'll show you our plate system. Again, sorry for the rocky movement. So for each product, everything has a product number. And then I'm just gonna grab a thing blindly. So, excuse me, product 1033 is a greeting card. And so we keep a sample of the card for like print quality and reference. And then we keep our plates, polymer plates, packaged in like a little rigid mailer so they stay flat. It's pretty dry here, so we have a lot of issues with plates curling over time. So this just kind of helps keep them flat so they last longer. And then we have like a sheet of notes. So we keep notes on like which press we usually print this on, how many we do, what the ink colors are, all these little things. This system, I have to credit my friend Jamie Karalik with. She used to work here and she helped me take all of the systems that used to just exist in my head when I was just running the shop on my own and actually put them into systems that would make sense for, having multiple people working in the shop. So this really changed the way that I organize things and store things and work efficiently. I used to literally just have polymer plates in shoe boxes that I would pull when I needed to reprint. So this was a real game changer. So thanks, Jamie. Just some more storage, paper storage. This was my first paper cutter. No longer works, but I love it so much. I kind of use it as like a book press sometimes. Here's a sweet little pearl. I'd always dreamed of having a pearl, and I found one up in Santa Fe right before COVID and brought it back here safe and sound. And I just adore this little press. Turning around, here's a drying rack. This little system over here is kind of work in progress. So the shelf up top are cards that have been, like, printing is done, they've been trimmed, and now they're ready to be scored because we score every card before putting them away. The middle shelf is printing that's in progress. So we've done like 1 or 2 colors and it's waiting on another color. And then down below is cards that have been printed but need to be cut before being scored. So again, just like another system that we designed so that it was really easy to work in here with more than one person, so we all know where things go. And then here's the press fleet. We've got 2 CMPs and 2 Heidelbergs. These guys, the CMPs are both 10 by 15s. We've got a old style on the left and a new style on the right. They both had treadles when I got them. And then we put motors on them about 2 or 3 years ago, which was a really nice move when you're printing like hundreds and hundreds of cards every single day. The treadle, I'm surprised we lasted as long as we did with the treadle. So the old style we keep locked up mostly for scoring. So we just keep a scoring rule locked up in there. And again, we're printing, for the most part, one size of paper, it's just a greeting card. So we have things pretty standardized here. So this press, we don't really mess with very often. It's pretty much just ready to go to hop on and score a bunch of cards. And then the CMP, usually have a boxcar base locked up in there for polymer, but sometimes we print magnesium plates and sometimes we print type, so that comes out as needed. This CMP and this Heidelberg are the main workhorses. And they pretty much, like, if we're printing less than 300 of something, we tend to lock it up on the CMP. And if we're printing more than that, we're gonna set it up on the Heidelberg. This press I've personally been relearning, which has felt really good lately. I bought this right at about the time that I started hiring employees. And so as the business was growing, I was doing less and less of the production. And so I didn't really, I trained on a Heidelberg like 12 years ago, but I hadn't really worked on one much since then because this was kind of like Jamie and Natalie's domain. And now that it's just me in the shop, I am just kind of relearning it and refamiliarizing myself with it, which feels really good. It's frustrating, of course. After printing for 15 years to feel like you're a beginner again. So that's been humbling, but it feels good to kind of get to know a new press. So I got to clean this one after we end this call. This last Heidelberg we bought right after we moved into this space. The business was growing a lot and I thought that we would really need another production press, but we really didn't. Like, having the one Heidelberg and the CMPs ended up being plenty. So I'm probably going to be selling this one pretty soon. If anyone's interested, hit me up. I'm going to turn around here. This is right behind the Heidelberg is like a little workstation. And then on the other side of it is the ink station. And then just kind of backing up with a full view of this beautiful space. It's like 5,000 square feet and most of it is open in the middle. Again, this is when we had events, we made great use of this space, and now it's, it's a little empty right now, but we would have workshops around this big table in the middle. And then we can almost everything's on wheels in here, so we can just move things out of the way when we have events, and just have this big open space. So upstairs, I have a little like lounge up there. It's cozy and it's where I go up and do computer work or read or, package cards. I'm going to take us into the retail store. So the whole space is just open, and the store is just separated by some cabinets. But let me walk up to the front door. So the building is part of, the whole building was a car dealership that was built in the late 40s, I believe. And so looking out of my space, there's a really lovely courtyard. It's a beautiful day here. And that covered area up there is where like all the new cars would be lined up to show off to customers back in the day. And then it's basically, the complex is like an L shape. This is my friend's ice cream shop right there. And then that green wall extends all the way to the corner. And there's like 4 other businesses down that way. So it's a really nice little community. And the space that I'm in was the garage part of the shop. So this is where people come in and walk into the shop. So it's like a fun explosion of color. We have our wall of cards here. And these are mostly just Power and Light cards. We also sell cards by Etc. Letterpress. That's Natalie, who used to work here, and she has her own line of cards. So we carry those two lines, and then gift items, all sorts of stuff, books, t-shirts, office supplies, art supplies, snacks, just lots of different gift things that I've been sourcing from other artists and small businesses. Kind of a focus on artists throughout the Southwest, but I've really been broadening my reach this year. So yeah, this is the store. And I'm going to walk us back to where I started. And then I'm going to switch back to the laptop and put this thing down. So I'll be right back.
That was amazing to see all that. So organized and so colorful. Like, I want to be there right now. Welcome back, Kyle.
Hi, thanks. So are there any questions? Stephanie, should I check in and answer any questions? Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking.
Yeah, no, that's great. There are a couple questions. So Ray and Jill have been all over with some good questions. So with the focus on cards, how are card sales going right now, like this year and everything?
It's been a very strange year. Cards generally are doing really well because people are not able to see their friends and family. And so I think people have been reaching out in different ways much more this year. But the sales channels have been really different. So whereas we used to sell wholesale to stores primarily, and let's say that was 90% of the business, this past year, 90% of the business was direct to customer through the website. So selling to individual people rather than selling to stores, because a lot of stores had to close at least temporarily this past year. So I think cards, I think a lot of people say that no one sends greeting cards anymore, but they definitely do. We've sold a ton of greeting cards this year. And again, I think it's people are trying to reach out and stay connected with people they love, and sending a card is a really easy and sweet way to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way to say it. There was another good question. Oh, and I reminded everyone that April is letter writing month. So go buy cards from Kyle, and we've had some other really wonderful commercial printers. So get stocked up now. Also, they wanted to know, do you sell your cards a lot through reps, and you kind of answered that a little bit there, but yeah, what's your way of selling?
Yeah, I do sell through reps. One of the rep groups closed this year, but I have 3 other reps around the country. So I have a rep that sells in the Northeast, like New York up to Maine, all of New England. And I have a rep in the Central South, so Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then a Bay Area, California rep. So yeah, that I sell basically, like, I used to go to trade shows when that was a thing we could do. So I would get a lot of new wholesale accounts that way, and then sales reps fill in the gaps. And then there's a website called Fair, which has really stepped up this past year for wholesale. And it's basically an online marketplace. So I found a lot of new accounts that way. And then honestly, when I was on the truck tours over the years, I met so many people that some of whom are still customers, stores that I did events at. And so just maintaining those relationships has been really important for keeping a customer base.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I will say that other than people just admiring your lovely space and loving how organized everything was, because That is absolutely amazing, both from the stockroom to the filing system. I think we were all just admiring your work.
Right.
So if there's any more questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise hand or just ask.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the organization of this space, it, it comes from a few different places and turns of events over the years. But so I moved into this building about 3 years ago. And before that, I had been in a much smaller, much darker, much more cramped. I mean, still a great shop. Loved that shop. I was there for 5 years. Um, but I didn't really have much in the way of organization systems. It was most of that time it was just me working in the shop. So I kind of like just had everything happening up here. Um, and didn't really have a need for like a developed system of any kind. So once I started hiring employees, as I mentioned before, it really became apparent that like we had to change some things and make the shop really more accessible to other people. So we did a ton of work over the last few years, getting these systems developed and trying something and seeing if it worked and then making changes to it and trying something else until we found systems that really worked for how we wanted to work in the shop. So that's been great. And this year, that really set me up. Like I had to let my staff go last March. I laid them off for a while to see what was going to happen, and then there was just no work all summer and into the fall. So fortunately, they were all able to get on unemployment very quickly and easily, and they have all landed on their feet and found new opportunities or created new opportunities for themselves. But having the organizational systems that we worked on and got in place really helped me personally this past year to not have to stress about that on top of the stress of just, is my business going to fail? Do I have enough money to live? All those things. So that has taken a huge amount of stress off of my plate as I've been trying to figure out how to run the business by myself again. It's just one less thing to have to figure out. And that's really been like the game of this past year. I have not been super creative. I've just really been trying to focus on putting one foot in front of the other and trying to keep the business afloat. And I think I'm doing it. I have incredible landlords here who have been really fair about working with me on rent, which I'm so grateful for and feel so fortunate. But with that help and with just trying to streamline things, I think it's going to allow Power and Light to continue. It's just going to look pretty different going forward. And honestly, it's I'm okay with it. I think there was a tough mourning period over the summer of just like losing my staff and this really amazing crew of women that I was fortunate enough to kind of collect and bring into the fold here. Losing them and losing the, being unsure if I was losing the business or not was incredibly challenging up through probably September. And then holiday sales, like people were buying a lot online for holiday gifts. That really helped me feel like, oh, I think I can make it through. But now I just have to kind of figure out like, what do I want this business to be going forward? And I'm honestly grateful to kind of be forced into having to think about that. I think the last few years as the business had been growing, it had a momentum of its own, and I kind of felt like I was just swept up in like being like, okay, I guess we have to do this now. Now we have to do this now. I'm going to hire someone else to do this. I really felt like I had lost not so much control, but I just lost sight of what I was trying to do. I was just trying to like kind of catching up. And I don't think I actually wanted to keep growing. I think before COVID, I was wanting to scale things back to a certain point, but I didn't really know how to do it. And so this isn't how I would have done it, but I think, having been forced into this position to rethink what I want this business to be, I think is going to serve me well and hopefully serve my work well, so I can be a little bit more focused and diligent about things going forward. So yeah.
I want to say thank you for your honesty. We, in Ham Hangs and just in general, we've talked to people for the last year and we've heard a lot of stories. You speaking honestly about what was happening in your business and where it's going and how it's developing is huge. So thank you for being so honest with us all and sharing that, because hearing everyone's story and seeing how they're managing, because we are a year into this, is important, and it's a good reminder. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's my pleasure. I think where all of us are dealing with this past year in different ways. We've all been affected, and there's there've been a lot of tough times, but I'm trying to just like keep my head up and go forward. I'm just trying to like pull lightness out of that darkness, and trying to feel grateful for certain lessons that we've been forced to learn.
Yeah. I will say there are a couple questions, but I know you wanted to talk about the Southwest Print Fiesta. So I'd love for you to talk about that or anything else, and then I will ask these other questions.
Yeah. So one other fun thing that I've been working on this year is the Southwest Print Fiesta, which is 2020 would have been the 5th year, I think. And we didn't have a festival this past year, but we will be having one in 2021. This is a festival that Power and Light has always been involved with, but we've never been the organizers. But this year, my friend and coworker Jamie and I are taking it over, and it happens every October. So this year it's October 8th through the 11th, and it's typically been Southwest based. We host it here in Silver City, but we draw audience from New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Mexico, sometimes Utah, Colorado, California. It's a really Southwestern based festival. But this year, since we're going to be doing a lot of online programming, we're excited to be able to actually open up to a broader audience. Because of how remote this town is, it's hard, it's hard to come here for a 2 or 3 day festival. You have to like kind of commit to flying to a city and then driving 3 hours, and so we're really excited about what this could mean for this year. And we're going to try to do a hybrid program. So we'll have some in-person events, assuming everything feels safe enough to do that. Like in the past, we've done steamroller printing. So I think we can easily do that outside and just have some crowd control things in place. I don't know if we're going to do a printers market. We usually do a big street fair, but that's kind of, we'll just have to wait and see this year. But we're going to have, we have a really exciting visiting artist lined up. I can't like say anything specific yet because we just are still nailing down details, but I just wanted to put the word out there. We're going to have a lot of workshops that are going to be available online, and it's all forms of printmaking. It's not letterpress specific. So, the programming will appeal to letterpress printers as well as, fine art lithography and wood carving, screen printing, kind of runs the gamut. So we'll have 2 full days of workshops. We'll have some other free programming, and we're taking some cues from the Ladies of Letterpress conference, where we'll have like some a la carte options as well as like a whole conference pass. So there are different ways that you can participate depending on your budget and your availability and things like that. So I think Stephanie was going to put the website in the chat. It's the website has mostly information from past years, but you can kind of see some photos and get a flavor for what it's like. It's a really fun festival, and we're really excited to start steering it in a slightly different direction while still, maintaining what all of us love about it. And I hope someday, next year maybe, some of you can actually come out in person. This is a really cute town. It's a nice place to get away. Especially in October, it's beautiful weather. So But if you're interested in staying in touch about the programming, you can join the mailing list or you can send me an email and I'm happy to share more information. I think we're going to have programming up on the website by early May is kind of our goal, with registration opening over the summer. So hope some of you can make it to that.
You've got our excitement and people offering help already. So
Amazing, amazing.
I'm glad you could share more about that.
So yeah, I'm happy to answer any other questions. I don't really have anything else like prepared to speak about, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Great. There were a couple, I can ask those, and then people can also raise hands or unmute or put more in the chat. Two about previous work you've done. One was the Planned Parenthood tote bag. Is it still happening? Is it still available? What happened to that?
It is still happening. It's not the bonanza that it was 4 years ago. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, right after the 2016 election, I designed a tote bag that benefited Planned Parenthood, and it, through the magic of the internet, it went viral, and we just sold thousands of them, and we've been able to donate almost $100,000 to Planned Parenthood over the last 4 years. So a lot of that was in the first 2 years. I'd say that was like peak tote time. But we're still selling them. I just got a reprint of them done. They're screen printed, nice quality, good canvas tote bags made in the US. And yeah, those are still available. So the sales are like down to a trickle now, but it's still, I would say it's just like part of the product line now rather than like this huge standout item. But yeah, that's been a really incredible project to be a part of. And I know we're all really proud to have been able to donate to an organization we believe in.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the power of the press, right? Being able to support the things that you feel are important.
Yeah, and that was like the genesis of that project came from that feeling of helplessness after Trump was elected. This is my politics. Is I felt scared for not necessarily for myself, but for people I know. I felt like that was a bad turn of events, and I didn't know what I could possibly do to change anything until I remembered that I was a printer and that I work with words, and if I can create something and print something and put it out in the world, that's me doing my part. I'm not going to be a lobbyist. I'm not necessarily going to be out protesting every day, but that was a really good reminder of what it means to be a creative person and a printer and a maker, is that, there are things that we can do.
And I will interject real quick with a reminder that the Printers Against Racism is happening again, April 2nd through the 11th. So if any of you are printmakers and want to participate, I'll put a link in the chat because we do have the power to make change. And so knowing that we can come together and help each other as a community is good as well. So I've put that over there. So. And I don't know that Hamilton's going to participate this time around. We did last time, but I don't know that we can this time. So please participate and let us know if you did or do. I will also ask you a question, if you'll talk just a little bit about the movable type a bit. Bob and Carol wondered if you could share where you went and what you did. And do you mind if I share an old article? I found an interview with you at the time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Movable Type was a project that was kind of born out of me being jealous of my musician friends who are going on tour. And I'm kind of joking, but also very serious. That's kind of where it came from. I started thinking that I would really love to see what it could look like to go on tour as a printer and to travel, to meet people, do workshops, do pop-ups. And so I bought, back in 2010, I did a Kickstarter and raised some money so I could buy a used, it was at that time a 30-year-old step van. So it's like like a delivery taco truck style vehicle. 1982 Chevy step van, P30, and it was a pretty much a blank slate. The guy I bought it from had started converting it to an RV, but hadn't finished it. So that kind of truck, it's really boxy. It was really easy to just tear things out and build back into it. It didn't have any curves or anything like that. So I built out the back as a mobile print shop. And I already had a Golding official #3, so a little tabletop press, platen press. And then Hamilton so kindly sponsored the trip and donated a show card sign press. So I had these two different styles of letterpress, but really, small format, but both really functional. And I set those up, got a little bit of type, some other tools, and basically the back of the truck was like a galley style studio. So cabinets on two sides, little hallway down the middle, and then I had a sleeping bunk in the way back with storage underneath. And so it was my home and it was my studio, and I traveled for a full year on that first trip. I went all over the US, 49 states. I didn't make it to North Dakota. But I did get up into Canada a little bit. So yeah, I spent a whole year traveling the whole country. And I mean, I was constantly on the move. I was never in one place for more than 3 days. And usually I was in a different city every other day. And it was like the most amazing experience of my life. I know it's like such a generic way to talk about it, but I grew so much as a person. I'm typically a more introverted, kind of a loner. So this being forced into these social situations every single day in new cities was really new for me and really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. But of course, that's when you learn and grow. And I met so many wonderful people on that trip and just got to visit so many shops and galleries and libraries. It was really just, I mean, like, best life experience ever. So that was the first trip was a year. And then I've done several shorter trips since then, anywhere from a month to 3 months. And I had just put a bunch of work into the truck in 2019, because in February of 2020, I hit the road again and I had a 6-month tour planned. And I got 2 weeks into it and COVID hit and had to turn around and come back home. So I was really hoping that I could get back out and see what, not try to recreate the original trip, because there's just no way to recreate something like that. But based on where I'm at now and where the business is at now, what would that trip look like nowadays? I was really excited about that. So hopefully someday I can try again when it feels a little, the whole Movable Type project depends on like cramming people into a very small space together. So I just can't do that right now, but maybe next year. And yeah, I'll keep you posted on that if I can hit the road again.
It was memorable. I'm so glad you came to Two Rivers. It was really nice to see it in person. I think being able to share it with as many people is good. Right, yeah. A good question. Do you still have the van?
Oh, yes. It's it lives at my house. It's my guest room. So if you ever find yourself out this way, it's where you'll get to stay. It's really cozy. It's cold in the winter, but it's the little sleeping bunk area is like really sweet and cozy.
Yeah, I really love it. And you have to be careful. We've had lots of ham hangs where people are like, oh, visit. I was going to say we all have a giant road trip planned now when it's safe to do.
Yeah.
You have enough room there though. I want to come for a concert or a show because as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, that is a perfect place for it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and there's like a ton of reverb in this building too. So like an acoustic show is like just beautiful. It's just like this, the sound just like moves through the space really beautifully.
It makes me want to have, we've never done anything like that at Hamilton. So maybe if we have any inspired by Power and Light Press, I'll let you know once it's safe.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
We're at about 10 or 15 minutes. So do you guys have any, I don't think I've missed any questions so far. So if you guys want to unmute or raise hand or put in chat, please put any questions.
I see people are talking about my dog now. He's not here today. Like 4 dog beds scattered around different parts of the shop, so he can like always have his eyes on me depending on what I'm doing. But he's at home today.
I like Barb's question. What's the most popular snarky card?
Yeah, there's a handful of bestsellers. Maybe I'll go grab physical copies of like 3 of them.
That sounds good. I would just say I like the sense of humor that they have at their shop. Scott, I see a raised hand. You can unmute.
Going to right there. So I hear Daniel Snyder is at Hamilton while she's doing that, working on the historic stamping machine he did all his research on and got his degree from.
Yes.
Very excited. He's so creative.
He is very creative. So they've been sharing on Insta, so you can see Bonnie, his partner, is also here. And I talked to him about doing a ham hang. We'd already had all of this scheduled when he decided to come. So yes, soon, hopefully in 2021, we'll be seeing a Dan Schneider die stamping ham hang because it's fun to know more. We entertained ourselves, Kyle, while you were gone.
Okay, I just grabbed 3 cards that are like constant bestsellers. I'm going to start off with some rough language for anyone who's sensitive to that. But these guys are a perennial favorite. This is another one of our bestsellers. Kind of a niche audience for this one, but really has some favorites. And then this is one of my personal favorites as a birthday card. So that's the kind of stuff, highbrow stuff that we do over here at Power and Light. Just keeping us all humble.
Hilarious.
Who writes them? Is that
I write them. Yeah. It's my creative outlet.
Somebody did want to know, what's your plan for the business now that you have had time to rethink and reconsider? What kind of directions are you going?
So yeah, there's still so much, I think, this coming year that I need to see how it all shakes out. I've been getting a few wholesale orders recently, which makes me feel optimistic that stores are reopening, that store owners have a little bit of money to start ordering again. So, but I don't expect that volume will go back to where it was pre-COVID. And I'm okay with that. The online sales, like through our website, I also don't really know what to expect because that's been very slow since the beginning of the year. And part of that is just normal. It's always that way in the winter. After the holidays, there's always a lull where people aren't typically buying stuff. So that doesn't feel out of step with normal years, but I don't really know what to expect. I think this past year, because everyone was home, people couldn't go out and go shopping. People were really buying a lot of stuff online, and I don't really know if that's going to continue in the same way as things start opening up again. I also don't know if, now the store here, like I'll go open the store in a little bit. I'm open Fridays and Saturdays right now. As people start, again, going back out into the world, if the store will be busy or not, I just don't really know. So I'm just trying to be patient this spring and summer. I think it's going to be a really slow revitalization for everybody. And it's really going to depend on, you know, vaccines and school. Like there's so many things that are going to impact people's spending habits and retail economy and things like that. So I just don't really know. I'm really just trying to be okay with that as much as I can, and just kind of lay low and wait it out.
Yeah.
Not spend a ton of money in the meantime. So I'm just kind of like in a holding pattern right now. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic, but there's much that I don't know right now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing so much of that, because sometimes it's very scary to talk about those things that you don't know. So, people were asking, yeah, is it kind of a touristy area where you're at?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's not because it's so off the beaten path. It's not, you know, like Santa Fe. I mean, it's also much smaller than Santa Fe. But we don't have like that kind of in tourism, but we do get tourists through here, especially kind of in winter. We get people from colder climates because it's more mild. In summer, we get people from hotter climates because we're high desert, so it's not as hot. So we get like this nice year-round tourism, which is nice, but it's not like there aren't just like tourists like pouring through the streets. You know, it's not one of those towns, but
Yes.
there is a tourist economy here to some degree.
And earlier we were talking, just you and I, before we got started, and you said people seem to be wearing masks. It seems to be, we've been doing this a year.
Yeah, it was a rough summer here. I mean, I think it was that way in a lot of places, but you know, this is the Wild West, and there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of like libertarian attitudes around this area, and it really, I think, was a struggle until probably the fall. And I just didn't have the store open at all because I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. I don't want to have to yell at someone to put a mask on, who probably doesn't want to buy my stuff anyway. You know, it's like, so, but now, I mean, I think in most places, of course, there are still outliers, but I think most people are just like on the mask train and understand that that's what we're doing now. So it feels like that part feels less anxiety inducing than it did 6 months ago.
Yeah. Ksenia, I saw you unmute. Do you have a question before we wrap up? I'm calling people out now.
That was an accident, but hi Kyle, well done.
Appreciate that.
Well, we're coming up to our hour, so I might wrap us up. Sometimes we hang out a little after, but Kyle, thank you. Such a colorful, well-lit, and organized space. I feel ready for the rest of my Friday after seeing all that, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for tuning in and letting me talk at you for a while. And yeah, again, any questions, feel free to email me, or I'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards also. So yeah, it was really nice to have this opportunity to just chat and check in.